Isten hozta önöket műsorunkra dr. Gemma Newman, növények erejével gyógyító orvos, 2 részből az első. Hallott arról, hogy a növény alapú étrend segíthet a krónikus betegségek enyhítésében, megelőzésében, vagy még visszafordításukban is? Ma az a kiváltság ért minket, hogy részleteket mutathatunk be egy interjúból dr. Gemma Newman általános orvossal és az angliai Ashford Orchard sebészetének rangidős munkatársával. Dr. Newman szerepelt Nagy-Britannia ITV, Channel 4, Channel 5 és Sky News Sunrise TV csatornáin, és írásokkal járult hozzá a Glamour, Zest és Good Housekeeping kiadványokhoz. Pácienseinek és a tömegmédia révén a nagy közönségnek is megbízható tanácsokat nyújt a növény alapú életmódról. A jó orvost előadóként gyakran meghívják képzési programokra és konferenciákra, hogy más orvosokkal is ossza meg mély táplálkozási ismereteit. Sorozatunk első részében dr. Newman nézőpontját fogjuk meghallgatni az általunk elfogyasztott ételek és egészségbeli kilátásaink, köztük az élettartamunk közti kapcsolatról. Az USA Harvard Orvostudományi Egyetemén tudósok csoportja 2016. októberében befejezett egy metatanulmányt. 2 különálló orvosi tanulmány adatait használták fel, melyekben 131.342 résztvevőt követtek több mint 26 éven át, hogy meghatározzák, milyen kapcsolatban áll az étrend a jóléttel és a hosszú élettartammal. A Journal of the American Medical Association folyóiratban megjelent beszámolójukban a kutatók azt a következtetést vonták le, hogy az állati fehérje helyettesítése növényi fehérjével csökkenti az elhalálozás kockázatát.
The most important factor in maintaining health and vitality has got to be what we put inside our bodies. And luckily that's also what we've got the most control over. And so when we look at areas of the world where people have lived the longest lives and with the most health, we can get some clues as to what to eat.
novemberében a National Geographic amerikai tudományos és utazási magazin címlasztoria a Hosszabb élet titkai címmel jelent meg. Ez Dan Buettner felfedező és író írta, aki specifikus régiókat azonosított világunkban, ahol az emberek az átlagosnál sokkal tovább élnek. Ezeket kék zónáknak nevezte, és az egyik dolog, ami közös volt, hogy a régiók lakosai hasonló, okos, étrendi döntéseket hoznak.
And these are so-called blue zones, small pockets around the world where people have had fantastically long lives and, as I say, increased vitality. So they're quite disparate. You know, there's some in America, there's one in Italy, there's one in Japan. What do they all have in common? Well, in terms of what they ate, 95% of what they had was whole food, plant-based. And what do I mean by whole food plant-based? I mean vegetables, nuts, seeds, berries, beans and whole grains and water as well. And those kinds of foods will give you everything that you need, all the protein and calcium, vitamins and minerals for you to live a long and healthy life. And that's what's so great is that you can have a lot more control and you can start to have better control over your own health destiny without having to rely on a doctor to tell you what pills to take. And start to love the foods that are going to love you back.
Amikor dr. Newman elhagyott minden állati terméket és megtapasztalta a növény alapú étrend csodálatos előnyeit, elkezdte azt ajánlani pácienseinek. Hamarosan ők is egészségük drámai javulásáról számoltak be. Dr. Newman örömmel osztja meg ezeket a sikertörténeteket.
And my first patient to talk about is a lovely lady. She was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and she was in her early 50s. And she was devastated. She's a professional woman, she worked hard, she was neglecting herself, she wasn't eating good things and she was rushed off her feet. She came to me, brand new diagnosis, really high blood sugars. She was getting really thirsty, really tired all the time. And we checked her cholesterol level. Her cholesterol was 8. It was off the charts, you know. So as I say, UK readings, less than 5, we're not too worried about. 3 to 4 is optimal. So I said to her, let's take on a whole food plant-based diet approach. I gave her lots of advice on this, and she came back to me. We did some more blood tests just 12 weeks later, and incredibly, her cholesterol had dropped from 8 to 3.5. And her blood sugars had normalised into the normal range. She was technically no longer diabetic. And I was blown away. I was really excited about this. A man in his late 40s drives a van and he loves his job. He turned up to work one day. They were checking people's blood pressures. His blood pressure was sky high, well over 180, over 100. They said, we have to revoke your licence. You cannot drive until you get this sorted out. Go and see your doctor. So he came to me. He was understandably upset. He didn't want to take any medication. He really didn't want to have to take a tablet every day for the rest of his life to control his blood pressure. And I said, well, okay, let's talk about your diet. So I recommended to him a whole food plant-based diet, gave him a few simple tweaks. He's South African, so for him, meat was a big deal. He was very wedded to the idea of his meat, but he was willing to give it a try, clearly, because his livelihood depended on it. And so he did. And I saw him a fortnight later for a blood pressure check, and his blood pressure had gone down to 122/80. I was actually more surprised than he was at the massive improvements in his blood pressure without medication. And now he's back at work doing the job he loves.
Dr. Newman arról kérdeztük, van az étrenden kívül bármilyen egyéb tényező, amit fontosnak tart az optimális egészség és hosszú élet eléréséhez.
If we again go back to the blue zones, so even though they're very different cultures, another thing that they consistently had in common was emotional connections with people. So they had a good social support network, they had close family links, and generally I think emotional health is another cornerstone to overall health. It's so important. The other thing that they had in common was that they exercised. They kept physically active from young age and all the way through up until their dotage. And I think that's vital based on the research available. That's something that we can see makes a big impact on lifespan and health. And looking again at the data, sleep. Sleep is really important. There are many times in life where we get disrupted sleep. If we're young and we're looking at our smartphones before bed, say we've had kids and we've got young kids disrupting our sleep patterns. Maybe as we get a bit older, we're having the poor health, daytime naps, pain, having to go to the toilet. All these things can impact our sleep patterns. And again, poor sleep has been shown to have an adverse effect on health as well. So in a nutshell, I'd say having a whole food plant-based diet is really key to health and longevity. Other really important factors would be sleep, exercise, and emotional well-being.
Hálásak vagyunk Dr. Newmannek, hogy lehetővé tette számunkra az interjút, és megosztotta velünk bölcsességét a növényalapú étrendről.